So a little bit about Workforce Go. And again, if some of you have joined this series before, again, welcome. Happy to have you. This might be a little bit of a refresher, at least on this slide right here. But I promise we'll get into the integrations content because that's the critical piece. But a little bit about Workforce Go. So many different industries served. Literally, thousands and thousands of active employees, partner relationships. And obviously tremendous in terms of the amount of processing that they have been done. Again, as far as the platform is concerned, I reference having clients down to that 10 employee size all the way up to 4,000 plus. Really is a solution that can work from your small business to your middle market and then even all the way up to enterprise. One of the things I really love about Workforce Go is you get a lot of that enterprise level functionality, but again, much more of a mid-market kind of a price point. Even small business, I think, finds it something that is very much affordable in that space as well for those users. Big client retention rate as well, and then just tons and tons of awards. We partnered with Workforce Go for quite a while, and their values align very much with those of DSD. So we've been very excited to partner with them, and we're very eager to showcase what the solution can do, especially the way that it can communicate with other solutions like ERPs. So you can have a lot of data moving back and forth bidirectionally. So let's start talking a little bit about what happens when you have the disconnected systems leading to obviously disconnected teams being one of those big byproducts. So, just a few things, for HR, finance, and operations, working in silos with no unified data source is obviously something that is very, very problematic. You're going to have a tremendous amount of manual data entry. I can't tell you how often we have conversations with clients, and the people that are the administrative users of the system talk about all of the duplicate entry. They waste sometimes hours a day on this, which can really lead to lost production for even a full day in the span of a week that they're using for all this duplicate entry and chasing paper around. It's just something that's it's really, really a major hindrance for their day-to-day operation. And of course, payroll and workforce data consistently, needing to be reconciled across, again, multiple systems. The systems not communicating with each other. And again, the systems don't speak to each other. Everyone ends up speaking in circles. So I think I probably don't have to oversell how much that can be impactful. I think if you're joining us today for this presentation, you probably already know that. So let's talk a little bit about Workforce Go and how it can help with this. And again, having the seamless connectability between your accounting solution and this Workforce Go HCM system. So again, on the Sage 100 front, seamless automated data transfer, real-time mobile workforce access, automated error detection and syncing, an employee self-service access portal, which that one, we could circle that one, star it, underline it. That's one of the ones that really is a big one for a lot of the Sage 100 users, and really is a big differentiator for them. And then as it relates to Sage Intacct and Acumatica integrations, payroll API connection, your time sheets, your time entries, general entries, all that stuff, again, being formatted and sent back and forth bidirectionally between the systems. Then, of course, for other third-party integrations, having that open API architecture, again, having a full marketplace that allows for you to be able to know what's available in the market space, having interfaces to other solutions like Employee Navigator. I know for a lot of Sage users, especially a lot of Sage 100 customers we talk to, Employee Navigator is a big thing that a lot of them utilize, and having an integration to that is huge because there are a lot of HRIS systems or HCM systems in the space that do not have that. So the Employee Navigator is another one that I think is a real differentiator for a lot of our clients. And then, of course, having Scoots. Scoots is a learning management system. So I don't know how many of you out there currently use an LMS, but when it comes to being able to have trainings for your staff with a variety of different content, it can be stuff that's specific to your industry. It can be things that are more sort of general, so having different classes and things for and training for things like workplace violence and sexual harassment and everything else, and being able to have a system to manage all that stuff, make sure that people taking the courses in a timely manner, completing them is huge. Having things like E-Verify for those of you that do background checks out there, screening, a lot of times that's done through a third party that has no connection at all to your system. Being able to again have that embedded and work in tandem with your HCM is huge. And then of course, from a job posting standpoint, the really popular ones out there, the Indeeds, the LinkedIn's, again, being able to have that stuff connected to your HCM is really, really huge. So for Workforce Go and Sage Intacct and Acumatica users, so again, the payroll API connections, two-way sync for payroll runs, employee data and deductions, timesheets, capturing and approving employee hours directly and syncing them to the ERP. This is huge too, because this is also going to get really into the next piece of it, which is going to be a lot of the job costing and being able to push that stuff real time so you can keep up with your labor costs and your job codes directly in your ERP. Absolutely huge, and a tremendous time savings, and something that we talk about all the time. We run into so many different clients that I'll talk about construction, for example. There's so many times that they're having four people, having a four-person that's on a job site, that's managing time for a number of different hourly employees, being able to keep track of that, also being able to tie the costs to certain jobs while also watching for things like overtime. It's just tremendous having the tools in place so the systems can communicate, so you can have workflows in place so that they can monitor that. And you're not running up against having to pull people off of one job site because they're too close to an overtime, or paying overtime that shouldn't have been that that you shouldn't have been in an overtime period anyway. So being able to manage all that stuff proactively is huge. And then of course, finally, your journal entries, automatically creating entries and mapping your data back to your accounting solution, for faster closes. So a lot that's there. So let's start a little bit. Let's start with Sage 100. So on the Sage 100 side of it, you have a lot of detailed information that can move back and forth. So again, having an interface and scheduling automation seamlessly, scheduling data exchanges between Workforce Go and Sage 100. So again, having a purpose-built interface that's going to do this. This is different than a VI job that some of you might be familiar with if you're a Sage 100 user, or just, for lack of a better term for some others, an import-export. It makes a much bigger difference having this purpose-built interface that Workforce Go developed. Error reduction and data integrity is huge. Again, when you get rid of a lot of manual entries, you're gonna get away from some of those errors that can occur, and then of course, having a lot of other issues that it can lead to by having some of those problems. Mobile time and self-service, again, empowering employees to track time, request leave, view pay from any device. It's just really important. For most of the Sage 100 customers we talk to, this is something that they're just not. They've never seen it. They've never had these capabilities. Even when it comes to providing pay details, a lot of that stuff is basically having to email that stuff over to the employees. A lot of times it's fairly manual to do so, instead of having a purpose-built portal for people to be able to go into and pull that stuff. So if I'm buying a car, or I'm refinancing my house, I can pull those pay stubs directly through that portal. And again, I can't underscore enough how much of a difference that really makes for our clients and the users. So last piece, of course, is future-ready migration. So again, using Workforce Go and having that integration to Sage 100, if you're a current Sage 100 user. The nice thing about it is, if you do transition at some point off of Sage 100 as your primary accounting solution, you have the ability, because Workforce Go has so many different integrations, if you move to other systems, Workforce Go is able to move with you. You don't have to turn around and try to find a new HCM or payroll solution. It's able to work with you the full way. So that said, I am going to stop talking, and I'm going to pass things over to my colleague, Steve Hitchcock, so he can actually show you the software and how it would actually work for you. So, Steve, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thanks. Give me 1 second, and I will share my screen here. And hopefully now you can see my remote desktop session. I have that same infographic up that Abe was kind of talking about. And then I also, on the left-hand side, have some of the other screens that we're going to have a conversation with today. So with Sage 100, we have a lot of customers doing several different things, as Abe alluded to, right? A lot of times right out of the box, as they're getting used to getting that portal view from a timesheet perspective, and also being able to allow the employees to log in somewhere virtually to grab those pay details, they'll stick with the payroll from a Sage 300 perspective and leave it there. And when I say leave it there, meaning they'll just continue to do that day to day. One of the great things about the integration in our product is that as things change and they come up, you could move it to where you're doing payroll in Workforce Go, time entry in Workforce Go, and then just sending the actual journal entries into Sage 300. So again, being flexible, Abe kind of touched on it on the last bullet point of being able to have something, a product that you know works well with your company and can grow with your company as you guys make changes throughout that life cycle of your business. One of the things I want to mention here for our Sage folks, a lot of you probably know about the business objects, and I kind of want to touch on, why we do what we do with business objects, right? Because it allows you to take advantage of those Sage basically rules and regulations that it has, their business rules, it applies that, right? An ODBC connection is great if you're doing some analytical reporting, doing some bulk data entry, but we also want to make sure with our communication to the software, we're making sure that we're using the appropriate things. So that's why we use the business objects in our interface to do that. Now, some of the limitations that we have with the Sage 100 is based off the product being on premise, right? So we can't necessarily have an API perspective. We need to get onto the actual on-premise server, install our integration, and then some of the things that we can do with the others with scheduling and automatic updates and stuff have to be changed. So we'll be using Windows Task Manager to actually apply some of those changes. Some of the things that we can schedule are the employee sync. We can also schedule the actual cost center. So as you see on our infographic here, the labor codes, the job codes, cost types, those things can all be scheduled. Now with if you know anything about Windows scheduling, it can be scheduled for every 15 minutes, 5 minutes, what have you, once a day, however you want to do that. The other ones, when it comes to doing some of the other processes, it's a little bit more of a manual click, but the great thing about it is you're clicking on a tab, the files and fields and the products themselves already communicate together, so you don't have to worry about the spreadsheet coming out in the wrong format, don't have to worry about an additional column being added or any of that stuff. That's all been configured on the background to do that ease of use, to take out those simple things that can cause you so much trouble when you're trying to do time entry and or payroll or journal entries. So as I'm showing right here, this is what our actual integration looks like. You'll have several tabs. We're going to configure it based off of what works best for you, what you're doing today in your system, and how we can basically enhance that. So let me go ahead and jump into my Sage screens here real quick, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a department in just so you can kind of see the process that we have here. Department GG, right, and we'll add a couple of codes. I am by no means a finance person, so if this doesn't look right, please don't shoot the messenger. So I've created this. You'll fill out the rest of these things based off of what is needed. And again, we're going to go through the process with you, talk about what you need to do, talk about how things are configured in your system today, and then we'll work with that process and getting things set up. So once I've actually accepted it, right, that actually writes that record then to the Sage database. I can go in once that's been written. If it's scheduled, I don't have to do anything, right? The next time it's scheduled, it's going to come up. But because we're doing a demo, I'm kind of starting the process saying, hey, let's get things moving. Let's get things cracking, right? So I'm going to sync that. You can do it based off of last sync. We have other couple of options too from different standpoints. If you're doing some of the other tabs, you could do it right down to the specific employee. Maybe there was an error or something occurred during that actual transfer process that something didn't didn't come over, or hey, I got to get this in. This isn't scheduled to happen till later, but I need to do it today, or I need to do it now. We allow you to do that. So we have a couple of different options that come up in play. So for example, I could do all employees, I could do a changes since situation, or I can get it down to doing a specific employee and whatnot. So we'll have the conversation again with you. What fields are transferring over, what data information is going. Based off the infograph, Workforce Go would become the employee of record. So all your employees would come in through us. We would send the data over to Sage, and then Sage 100, you could run your payrolls, do all your journal entry and all that stuff. And then again, all your cost centers and whatnot, that will come back into the system. So once that is set up and configured and you've done your process, we give little messages here. Hey, this has been completed. I'm going over here now into Workforce Go, and I'm going to go into, this is my cost center tree from a Workforce Go perspective. I'm going to go into that department because I've told it this is where I want my information to go. And then you can see GG is there and ready to go. So it's now ready to use. Once it gets into the Workforce Go system, right, depending on your actual timing, it's available for the actual employee to then use on their actual timesheet. So let me go ahead and grab my buddy Owen. So when I come in here, I can go in, whoops, it helps if I grab department. If I go into department, I can see all my departments that are here. Scroll over, there's GG. So there's no duplicate entry, right? Now that I've entered it into Sage, it comes and transfers right over into Workforce Go. I don't have to then go over to Workforce Go. Oh man, I put in the wrong space or wrong gap. They don't match up. You don't have to worry about all that. That's, again, taking that need of double entry out of it is what we're truly trying to do to make life a lot easier for everybody, right? So now I could go ahead and I could mark my time to that actual department, the project, whatever cost center I have, and fill out that information, right? Run through the process, approve all my timesheets, get them ready, and then I can come back over and I can actually move that information to time just by selecting that actual time period, right? So I select the time period, I click on the pull time from Workforce Go. It's then taking any data that I have approved in the Workforce Go system from a time entry standpoint and moving it over into my payroll detail or payroll data entry screens. So let me go ahead and pull up the payroll data entry screens here. Abe, let me get this going. Bear with me here. I am working in a remote desktop session, so I don't have all the sweet bells and whistles, so it takes a little bit of time. And here it comes. And of course, I'm very bad at keeping my updates. Don't do that. If you're a payroll person, make sure you're doing all your tax updates, you're doing things in the current quarter, all that good stuff. I'm a salesperson and I am deadly when it comes to doing that stuff. I just want to make sure that I can get it going. All right, let me go ahead and click OK on this. I'm going to pull up my buddy Owen again. And then I'll go in here and we can see the time entry. Now I already teed up the time entry to go if I actually selected the other department, the GGs would be in here, but the biggest thing I wanted to do is show you how we transfer the information. We come it over, bring it over in the specific code. So if they ended up getting overtime, we have overtime, how many hours of that overtime, splitting out that job costing stuff, depending on what you have from that perspective set up and that we've configured from you. But again, seamless. It allows that to go through. There's no additional double entry. I don't have to track it in here. I don't have to create a sheet. I don't have to send the sheet over. I'm just going in and selecting a couple of options and the data is transferring for me. So I think it's one of the better products from a Sage 100 perspective because of how we integrate with them and how we're actually taking advantage of what that software can do, right? It's tried and true. A lot of people have been using it for quite a long time, so we know that it makes sense to get into this situation to where we can make your guys' life easier. But it's just very nice to have that flexibility of being able to do this, removing the double entry, trying to automate some stuff, making sure we do all the due diligence. We'll have those conversations with you and kind of talk through that process. So that's our Sage 100 integration. If you give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen and kind of talk about some of the others. I don't know if we had any questions come up from a Sage 100 perspective that I should try to answer before I change that maybe. Okay, I guess that's a no.
Doesn't look like it.
All right. For a minute there, I started worrying about, I looked over and make sure I'm still on Wi-Fi, because when it gets too quiet, I then start to get concerned. So let me go ahead and get into some of the others here. All right. So now you should be seeing my infographic for Sage Intacct. So with our relationship with Sage and DSD and working with the different ERPs, we know that there's a transition, right? Some folks, as they're coming off of those on-premise products, whether it's Sage 100 or some of the other no names that I'm not going to repeat out there, they're going to start looking for cloud-based solutions, right? Sage Intacct and Acumatica are two of the big ones that I believe that are out there in the system that have been there for quite a while and do some really great things for our customers. With Sage Intacct, this is a great move for some of the folks that are already with Sage. They love the Sage family, basically. They're using Sage products everywhere. This allows you to move up, right? Abe mentioned it previously in one of his slides too, is the great thing about getting with Workforce Go is we're okay with you moving to other products because we work with those other products. We know what the best products are out there. There's times as well as if you're a Sage 100 customer and you're a customer of ours, we'll have conversations with you. Our arms will talk to you about, what works best, what should you be thinking about. We see you're growing this way. You may want to take on an Acumatica or a Sage Intacct at this point. So we'll have those conversations and grow with you. And that way you can keep that one source of truth from the Workforce Go database and then just move on from an ERP perspective. So again, another little bit of an infographic, kind of similar to the other one that you saw. The only great thing about this one is these three little letters that everyone likes, API, right? So that actually makes life a lot easier. Things transition faster, error reporting capabilities and functionality. A lot of that stuff is up another notch once you get into the cloud because the things are moving a little bit better and faster and can be easier to communicate. You don't have to worry about on-premise things. So from that perspective, I'm going to jump into Sage here real quick and kind of do very similar process. Hopefully some of our Sage folks are used to this, and don't mind me as I fuddle around here. I am not Sage proficient. I am deadly enough, as I mentioned before. I can cause some trouble. So we'll work through the project with you and talk about, if you're first time implementing the project or implementing one of the ERP systems on the cloud, we'll have those conversations, talk about, what you used to do, how are you doing things today, what are things going to happen in the system, setting up what your projects or jobs look like, some of the terminology that they use, what kind of tasks and your dimensions. And we have a whole slew of team of integration experts that are also GL experts that could look at a number that is 32 characters long and tell you exactly how it's segmented out. I cannot do that, but it's a pretty cool feature that we have. Really tried and true SMEs in the industry, working with both products too. So that helps a lot during that implementation to kind of say, hey, this is what we recommend. This is kind of what we see as best practice, right? We do a lot of that stuff. So just know that once you're working with us in DSD, you're in good hands here. So let me go ahead and let me add this, and we'll do, I don't know, we'll do GA Georgia for Abe there. Go Bulldogs, right? And let me go ahead and save this.
I like
so as I hit Yeah, I figured you would. So I hit save here. So now I've got this up and running, right? It's in progress. If there's, approval processes or what have you from a project job standpoint, it will go through all of that before it ends up into Workforce Go. But I just wanted to show how these things can happen. They'll come up. You can duplicate them. You can basically have them automate the ID process. There's a lot of different things you can do. If you're already using Sage Intacct, I don't need to tell you. If you haven't used Sage Intacct yet, they're going to show you. But I just wanted to kind of give you a glimpse into it. I'm going to go into, let me go back here. I'll get this popped up just for right now, but I'm going to go, let me go over here. Oops, I'm going to go to time. I'll go to time in a minute, but I want to show this here. So this is our actual API portal that an admin user in your organization will have access to. I'm right now logged into the Intacct. In a moment, I'll log into Acumatica. They look identical, but I kind of want to talk through some of this just so you guys have an idea of what we set up. And we're going to train you on using this, right? We don't ever just say, here you go, figure it out, log in. We're going to show you a lot of the key points of doing a lot of this different syncs and configurations, sort of somewhat to the integrations. There's tabs, right? We have cost center syncs, things that we can do. A lot of this stuff you're not going to touch. We talk about the field mapping. We're going to have all these conversations with you during the discovery process to ensure that everything's working the way you want it. So we'll go through all this with you, but I kind of just like to show this just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. And then it comes into your employee syncs, very similar to the Sage Intacct, except the difference here is this happens as soon as you make a change in that Workforce Go record, it automatically pops and goes over to Sage. There's no waiting, there's no have to click a button or any of that stuff. It's happening at the time. Now the employee time and payroll time, a little bit different. It still automates the process, but the automation is based off of, like, from a payroll standpoint, it's based off of pay date or finalized date. So it's still automatically going to happen. It's just going to happen on those two intervals. Very similar to the employee time, but your sync, your cost centers and all that stuff is happening right away. These things are just happening based off of the pay period has to be completed before you actually want to try it in, because you want the payroll person to be balancing that stuff before it hits your journal entry, right? You don't want anything coming up unbalanced, in the red, all those key financial terminology that you guys like to use. We don't want any of that. One of the other great things about our tool too is our jobs, right? This is one of the cool things that we have is we have a process that actually says, hey, are things working well, right? From an API standpoint, we'll know if it's working well. The on-premise stuff, you get an error message, it gives you a big long thing, you'll see it, but here it can be tracked and tried, and we can set it up to where it can actually email you too. So if it does fail, it sends an email to somebody, they say, oh, I got to go out and look at it, take a look, see what's going on. Oh, there is a failure. Okay, they can click on it. We're going to work through a process with you for both the ERPs on the cloud, the Sage Intacct and your Acumatica, and working through what does an error look like? How can I resolve the error? And then if that doesn't work and you're not quite sure, if you haven't seen it before and you don't know what it means, you can still reach out to us, right? You're going to have be able to submit a ticket. The ticket's going to come into us. You can email your support person. They'll have that ticket. And then we have a team of the integration folks that will work with you to basically make sure that those things don't fail and everything comes across as is. But I do like to show this one because that's one of the big things, especially from an IT perspective, that I always get questions on is like, well, how do I know something failed? Well, if you're asking me, nothing ever fails in my product. But yes, there are ways to see that. This also shows the way the API communicates with itself, right? It's going to say, hey, this is running. Okay, did you receive it? Yes, I received it. Was it a success or failure? It was a success. Oh, it was a failure. So the two products are seamlessly communicating with themselves. Where with the other one, you're seeing an error message and then you have to do that. This is actually having that bi-directional communication for the actual product and in fields that it's actually placing in the system. So very similar to what you saw with Sage 100. We have our cost centers. Let me go, oh, I gotta go back one because I'm in Sage right now. So you'll see that I'll have that new There's my GA, right? It's automatically in there. Any of my subtasks and cost center, cost codes, or any of that stuff come populated underneath that. As soon as it hits Workforce Go, like I showed earlier, it's available in a timesheet, so that way they can go out and they can select that information. So very similar to what I showed, but again, a little bit on a bigger scale. Quicker, faster, stronger. All the good things about the API that everyone's heard about is true. So let me go back here and let's do some time. Let me do some time. I already keyed up some time here, so let me do some timesheets. Again, once we've had a conversation with you and talked about this, the manual need of what I'm doing goes away. Very similar to as we're posting journal entries, they may go in as draft, right? But then they'll go posting. Once you guys get comfortable with that, we can have the system actually do it to where it's posting it right away. So that way, yeah, I know that Workforce Go is giving me the appropriate information. I'm getting the right data. So let's go ahead and just post it right away. I don't need to wait for it. I know that it's going to happen. So let me go ahead and run that. And again, if we come into our job, you see the actual software communicating with itself. Okay, this job's pending. It's going to go through. And as it refreshes in a live environment, it'll happen a lot quicker. Even that's gone to running already. And then once it's processed, it will say it's been successfully ran. So again, it's just showing the actual two products communicating back and forth to one another. So it is a very cool situation. Let me show you while that's running. I'll go into our project, not projects, I'm sorry. I'm going to go into journals. Kind of show you just some of the actual transactions that I've pushed across previously while the time's running. So I've already had a couple of these come through and process in that actual payroll. We can click on it and see some of the detail that comes out in those processes, right? So as this moves across, we've had all these conversations to say, hey, where does this go? Is it a debit? Is it a credit? What GL? What department? What location? This is all coming out of the actual timesheets that are captured. As the employee puts in the timesheet, they're specifying this information, and then that information is getting approved from a timesheet perspective. And then we go ahead and we move things out as we post them to the actual journal entry. So that way we have a nice little balancing at the end of the session, right? That's what we want to have, is an in and an out and everything be perfect, right? So it breaks it down. It takes all that information that we've gathered from you during the actual implementation process, and then it works for you. So that way you don't have to worry about this stuff. It's a set it and forget it almost, where it's just coming in and you're doing that. You don't have to have those separate files. You don't have to have the separate processes occur. None of that stuff. You'll actually have it come right from the other system. Let me go back to our staff timesheets. We should be done by now, hopefully. Let's double check here. Yep, success, yay. So the 824 payroll has come across, and we can see in here now, I have some of those time entries for that 824 payroll. Depending on how old you are, you'll know some of these folks. If not, I've basically showed my age. But again, you want to break down and go into the detail from a Sage Intacct perspective, you can do that. Again, you can see where those things are being broken off based off of how I put it in, right? I've logged 8 hours to the Dallas location. I've got another 8 hours to San Antonio on Tuesday, went back to San Antonio, and then the rest of the week, I kind of hung out locally to home, stayed at the Coyote Ridge subdivision doing my work. And you can see that actual breakout. So it allows you to see those things in real time. Well, not real time, I should say, as they post based off of the pay period closing and whatnot. Real time would be employee changes in cost centers. Are there any questions come up in regards to Sage Intacct?
Not yet.
Okay, and I can move on to Acumatica. No need for a poll question right now or anything?
Yep, good to go.
All right. All right. The great thing about what I'm getting ready to show you is you've already seen it before. Sometimes repeating, right? The first time you hear something, you maybe remember 25%, the second, third, and it just keeps growing. Now, the only difference truly that changes is the infographs. The infograph changes from a color perspective, right? We like to honor our partnership with these other products. So as you noticed, the Sage, we had the Sage Green. Acumatica, we have the Acumatica Blue. So we really do appreciate the partnerships that we have with both of those products. So we try to make sure that we're doing right by them as well. But as you can see, very similar. API, Workforce Go again is that employee record, because we have the great HRS system, the great portal for the user experience and whatnot. That's why the employee record resides with us. Going into Acumatica, they talk more about branches, sub-accounts, projects, tasks, what have you. We still call them cost centers, but as we work through that training process with you, we'll work on that translation and ensure that what you see is you see on both sides. So that way there is no gap, right? You don't have to speak the two different languages just when you're seeing it on here. We're talking from a generalized standpoint. Again, flexibility in the actual product. Here's another good example, right? So from an Acumatica standpoint, they do a lot. We have customers that not only do their time in Workforce Go, they also do time in Acumatica. They like the way Acumatica handles field service employees. So that's great. Workforce Go is flexible. We can actually do that. So we can take time activities and we can take them from Acumatica. So if all your field service people are doing their jobs, you want to see how those projects are going, you want to be able to pull a daily report of where are we with this project, best place for it is in Acumatica Field Services. But then once that week is up and we're time to do some payroll, we can take those time activities and bring them back in to Workforce Go, process the actual payroll, and then send that payroll detailed journal back into Acumatica. Or if you have a bunch of salary folks that don't necessarily need to go out and do field service type work, they can also, at the same time field services is doing work in Acumatica, use Workforce Go for time entry, maybe some simple labor allocations, a generic split most 100% of the time. They can use Workforce Go. So flexibility is one of the great things about our product, and being able to do what's best for you, what's going to make the best thing from a process perspective, and how you handle your day-to-day jobs and how you're doing things out in the field is what we want to do, because that's what we're really here for, is to accomplish those things, whether Sage 100, Sage Intacct, or Acumatica. We're trying to, along with DSD, is trying to make sure that we're doing process improvements for you to make you guys more successful, because, selfishly, we know the more successful you are, the more successful we will be, because we have this great partnership and we're working through that with you. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go put in my jack of all trades hat on here. Now I've going into a third ERP system. This has to be a record for me. 3 ERP systems in one demo session, or I should say one webinar. Let's go in. Let's go into projects here. Oh, and of course I talked too long in the others. So now I've been logged out of Acumatica. I hate when that happens. Cue the elevator music here. One moment. There we go. Cool. All right, so hopefully from an Acumatica standpoint, if you are using Acumatica, you're familiar with the screens. If not, you're going to use Acumatica, you will be familiar with these screens. Here's a list of the actual projects that are out there. Again, having conversations with your team, going through, getting jobs bidded on, having them approved. You can create the actual projects or jobs in Acumatica. That information comes over. I like to copy my work, so let's take this one here. I think this is one of the cool features. We have this in Workforce Go too, the ability to clone and do things. I don't have to be what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it now. That's how bad I am. I'm not very geez, I've lost my words. I'm not a fluffer. I'm not a marketing person. I can't make things look great. I like to just, if it works already, let's just go ahead and copy it. Let me get this going. Come on. Does it not like my project ID? Oh, see, look at that. Okay. Great thing about Acumatica, there's fail-safe, so you can't duplicate some of your work. All right. Now that I've gotten my 34 in here, let me go ahead and I'll just, creative. I'm not very creative. See, I knew I was going to come up with that word. So in here, from our perspective, as things are going through and they're processing the job, very similar to Intacct too. If there's a workflow that things have to be approved on before anything can happen. Right now, as it is, this is not being seen in Workforce Go. So until this is activated, right, until my tasks are activated, until the actual project gets activated, so if that has to go through some kind of workflow and that process, you won't see it over in the Workforce Go product, right? So, but once it becomes activated or it's deemed certified, it will then process and move right over to actual Workforce Go. And while I say that, let me go ahead and I'm gonna log out here and log back in. 1 second. So when you log in, you're not going to see this. You're going to just jump right into your session. And I wanted to come in here and show you the wow factor of how they are very similar. We're using a lot of the same technology. The only thing the only difference is we know the other products so well that we can do the mapping and whatnot to those different products using the exact same tool. So it's one of the great things about us is have been working with, actually we worked with Sage Intacct before it was actually Sage. Now that I think about it, Workforce Go was a partner with Intacct before Sage even purchased them. So even knowing the products as well as we do, we're able to take a lot of that same functionality that we use from an API perspective and just say, hey, I just need to go to a different place. I need to go to a different location, specify the different types of fields, columns, headers, all that good stuff. We'll be able to do that throughout that process. So we'll set all of that up for you, again, working with you, but I did want to show you kind of how a lot of this is the same, similar look and feel. We have the same jobs, so it's all pretty much the same. So you can see that dimension that I already created is gone over. So then now if I go into Workforce Go into my Acumatica projects and tasks, and I go down here, there's our 34, our 7 tasks. We have our main task underneath there. So, if you had additional items underneath there, right, that go all the way down to the cost code, you'll have that, right? So we can do this. Again, things and conversations that we're going to have with you as we go through that process and actually work through you in the implementation phase of how you want to how do you have things set up, or how are you going to set things up. And again, once it's in our system, it's readily available for the employee to go in and then select it from an actual timesheet. So let me go ahead and grab, because I didn't do this with the other ones. I will do a payroll out of here. Let's see, let's grab this one. So again, this is not something that you would normally have to do. I'm doing this for demo experience here, or demo purposes, I should say. We're again going to have conversations with you. Does the payroll go over on pay date or finalized date? You also have the ability to pull different reports out of our system too. If you wanted to see some of the information that's being sent to the actual system, you could put in your email address in here and it would send that information to you. So you could actually see exactly what's going in, how it's formatted, all that good stuff. Not necessarily needed to use, not necessarily needed to see, but maybe during the implementation process, a lot of folks like myself are really big into Excel spreadsheets and would rather see it there and kind of look at it and crunch the numbers that way, say, okay, yeah, this all looks good, right? Instead of going into the actual products. But the great thing about both products is you do have the ability to pull data out of them from an export perspective, not only Workforce Go, but also with Acumatica. So let me go in here. And I click on the transactions. And sorry, it hasn't came yet. Let's see. Let me double check it. Oh, Oh, it failed. Okay, so great segue. If there actually happens to be a failure, we talked about it earlier, where it gives you an idea of what's happening. It looks like I have an actual column that cannot be found. So I would have to fix that situation. I could repost the actual information and then go through that process again. But again, this is the system communicating back to each other. An email has gone out. Jeremy, our manager at integration, is probably wondering what Steve's doing now. What have I broken? But once it actually goes through the actual process and comes over, it will come over, like I said earlier, it can come over in a drafted status. Once you get used to it, then you don't have to do the manual posting. You can have it come over automatically and it will post it. Let's take a look at what it would look like if I didn't have a failure. So you can see here, we have all the actual time that was entered into the system, the project or jobs, the task that was going to. We have our debits, our credits. If need be, we can get down to the employee level. Totally going to be conversations that we have during that implementation setup of how you want things to be transferred from one or the other. Our quantity column, if you didn't want to do time entries into the time entries standpoint, we could do it all right to the actual journal entry too. So again, items that we're going to have conversations with you on and discussion. So you can see the ins and outs, and trust me, this all balances for sure. But I just wanted to show how that comes in, and that way you can kind of see your accounts payable, any of your burden that's happening. This all is out there to see. So again, oh, once it goes, let's see, let me take a look at this. And one of the other cool things here, let me go into the project, I think here. See if we can take a look at, let's go here. And I think you can see some of the costs, some of the labor costs. You can go into drill into some of the tasks as well as need be. So again, and anything that you have from an actual financial standpoint that you need, where you need to have things to go, where you can see things populated, your burdens going, your labor costs, job costing, we'll be able to do that for you. And we'll have that through back and forth conversations as we're setting up each one of these actual systems. Are there any questions from a Acumatica integration standpoint?
None as of right now.
All right. Okay.
We do have a general question about
Sure.
just how long implementation typically takes for Workforce Go.
Yeah. So it's going to depend because we have so many different items or modules that you can actually purchase. It can fluctuate. It also is going to depend on when you actually have, if you're already using your ERP, if it's a new ERP. So those things can fluctuate depending on how many modules, what other projects, add-ons you have. Abe, you may know this more than me. I think it's like I always say 3 months, but it could be 6 months. It's just gonna depend again on what you're purchasing with us, what's already in place from an ERP standpoint, and what we have to sync and hook up with, right? So if you're doing a full Workforce Go implementation and a full ERP implementation, those things are obviously going to take a lot longer. Sometimes they can go simultaneously, but there's always that give and take. So I always kind of do, 3 to 6. It could go to 9, but I try to stay there. Again, it's just going to be, are we just adding one thing? Are we adding the full boat, recruits or retirement? There's a lot of different points in there.
Yeah, I'll jump in there on that, Steve. Yeah, Steve's absolutely right. It can really vary a lot, and the other part of that too, it comes into you, the client, right? Because you have day jobs, and a lot of times you're not able to just solely just do this. You still have to be able to handle the daily workload. I will say this. It can actually be quite a bit shorter than that, though, as well as what Steve was saying, depending on the modules, and again, depending on circumstance. We've had clients that literally wanted to just do something like time and attendance, and and they wanted to start there. That's a very favorite one for Sage 100 users. Something like that, especially again if the client says, hey, this is priority for us, so they can give us a lot of time, and instead of meeting with us say once a week, they can meet 2 or 3 times a week. You can have those done in a matter of weeks. So it can be pretty short on that end. But to Steve's point, we have some clients that have very comprehensive needs as far as a lot of different systems they need to have integrations to. Obviously, we talked about it today with regard to the ERP, but also they might have integrations to other systems too. We talked about the LMS. We talked about things like Employee Navigator, and there's some other things out there as well. So if you have a lot of those other, sort of plug-in items, as I like to call it, then yeah, you can get into the multiple months. But I would say realistically, if you're talking about one module and not a ton there, especially too, if there's not a lot of other plugins, it can go pretty quickly in a matter of weeks, all the way up to a few months.
I can stop sharing here.
Perfect. And thank you, Steve, for that. And then I will start sharing so you guys hopefully can see my screen here. And yep,
We can see it.
there we go. So I will just briefly talk a little bit more about some of those third-party integrations. I alluded to some of it before, but I hope you got a lot out of all Steve was showing with those integrations, specifically for Sage 100, Sage Intacct, and Acumatica. You're just kind of seeing a little bit of the capabilities of what we're able to do, just kind of a, just sort of a high-level view of it. But we'd love to have additional conversations with you if you are using those platforms to talk about and really get into doing a custom demo for you to get into everything that we're able to do. And then obviously, if you are utilizing other systems, there are other systems out there that Workforce Go also has integrations to as well. One other thing I'll mention as we talk about some of those other systems, one that's also pretty popular in our space that we see, besides also from the Sage family, besides Sage 100, we see Sage 300 as well. So Sage 300 CRE is a pretty popular one, and there's also an integration Workforce Go to 300 CRE as well. So I just wanted to make mention of that. But again, based upon having that open API architecture, kind of the sky's the limit, so to speak, as far as being able to have integrations out there. There's some clients that that are large enough to have their own their own IT departments that contain developers, and they want to have sort of develop their own integrations. And again, that's one of those things that we're happy to talk to clients like that as well. If they want to sort of build their own, there's some options around that as well. But I'd say that the majority of clients, it's and probably the people on this webinar attending, a lot of times you're probably a Sage user or an Acumatica user already or thinking about it. So that's why we wanted to focus on these. But these other solutions that I mentioned as well, the integrations, to the employee navigators, the learning management system called Scoops, all the background screening stuff through E-Verify, and then the great job posting stuff with Indeed and LinkedIn. Those are definitely far and away the most popular and the ones that a lot of clients like to use. So that said, I'm going to go ahead because I know we're coming up to time and I want to be respectful of that. Love to get any feedback, any additional questions. And Jared, I will pass over to you, and then we can probably do our final poll question and let everybody out of here.